Imagine waking up and beginning your day with more than just a to-do list, a rush of notifications, or the anxious hum of a crowded mind. Imagine instead that your first breath of the morning is not just oxygen, but purpose. Imagine your first step out of bed becomes a sacred movement, guided by a presence you cannot see but deeply feel. Now pause. Ask yourself honestly, who do you let guide your day? Is it fear, routine, ego, or is it something greater? This is why I urge you to stay with me, not to listen to a speech, but to experience a possibility. Because if you can learn to invite the Holy Spirit into your day, you will no longer live by reaction, but by revelation. Every day begins with a doorway, but most walk through it half asleep, mind already racing, body on autopilot. Yet the Holy Spirit cannot enter a mind that is absent. To welcome something sacred, you must first arrive yourself, be present. Start your day not by reaching for your phone, but for your breath. Inhale, exhale. This is not just oxygen, it is your grounding, it is your yes to the divine. You do not pour clean water into a dirty cup. The Holy Spirit is clarity, peace, and purpose, but it cannot dwell in a place of chaos. Begin your day by sweeping the inner floor. Let go of yesterday, drop the weight. Empty yourself, not as a weakness, but to make room for strength that comes from beyond you. To invoke the Holy Spirit is not to shout, chant, or demand. It is to intend. It is to invite with humility. And intention begins in silence. Silence is not emptiness, it is the highest form of attentiveness. When you sit in stillness, you are not alone. You are preparing to walk with the divine. Once invited, the Spirit does not rush. It walks. And so must you. To truly walk with the Spirit is to move with awareness, speak with purpose, and act from a place of alignment. You do not force the day, you flow with it, but only if you have invited the guide that already sees the path. Do not wait for great events to feel the Spirit's presence. It is in the way you wash your face, in how you greet your family, in the choice to be kind when no one is watching. The sacred is not always grand, often it whispers. And if your heart is open, you will hear it. Inviting the Holy Spirit is not a one-time act, it is a returning. Just as you breathe constantly, you must reconnect constantly. When you feel lost, distracted, or heavy, stop. Close your eyes. Say, I return, guide me. That simple invitation is enough. The Spirit does not abandon, it waits. Each morning, without fail, you are given a gift. The beginning of a new day. It comes quietly, humbly, without fanfare or announcement. And yet it is in this soft arrival that something powerful awaits. Before the noise of the world intrudes, before the demands of responsibility and distraction pull you in every direction, there is a single sacred moment. It is a moment most people miss entirely. But it is in that moment, the moment just before your day truly begins, that you have the chance to choose how you will live. And more importantly, whom you will invite to walk with you through the hours to come. To invite the Holy Spirit into your day is not about ritual, tradition, or superstition. It is not something external. It is not confined to religious spaces, nor does it require ornate language or posture. The true invitation happens only in the present moment, right here, right now. This is the only space the Spirit can enter, because the past is gone and the future hasn't arrived. The Spirit does not dwell in your memories or your anxieties about what's ahead. It lives in what is now. But here's the paradox. Most people spend their days in places that no longer exist, or do not yet exist. They wake up and immediately check messages from yesterday. They think about mistakes from last week. They plan, they stress, they project into a future they cannot control. In doing so, they bypass the only space where life is truly happening, the present. And here lies the first and most important truth. You cannot invite the Holy Spirit into your day if you are not in your day yourself. You must first arrive fully before anything sacred can arrive with you. This arrival is not a physical one. You are already in your body, but your awareness must arrive, your consciousness, your attention, your presence. That is what the Spirit meets. Have you noticed what it feels like to be truly present? Perhaps during a quiet moment when you're sipping tea, watching the sunrise, or walking slowly with no need to be anywhere. In that stillness, something shifts. Your breath deepens. The noise fades. There is a soft clarity. That clarity is not something you created. It was always there. You simply paused long enough to see it. That's when the doorway opens. The present moment is not just a neutral space between tasks. It is the only place where transformation can begin. It is where the Holy Spirit whispers, where guidance flows, where peace becomes real. But if you're racing through your morning on autopilot, how will you notice the invitation? How will you recognize the knock at your door if you're already halfway down the street? The Spirit does not force its way in. It waits, it listens, it is gentle, and it responds to awareness. When you wake up and breathe consciously, when you sit in stillness, when you feel the rising of the sun on your skin, that is when the conversation begins. The doorway opens, not with effort, but with attention. This is why mindfulness is not just a practice of mental health. It is a spiritual opening. It creates the space for the Spirit to speak, not in words, but in knowing, not in commands, but in direction. When you are present, your spirit becomes tuned to something greater. You start to see the day not just as a series of tasks, but as a field of opportunity, a canvas on which divine wisdom can paint if you let it. Presence is the invitation, presence is the altar, presence is the temple where the sacred meets the ordinary. Consider this. When you're speaking to someone and they're distracted, looking at their phone or thinking of something else, you feel it. You know they're not really with you. Communication breaks down. Now imagine the Holy Spirit approaching you each morning, not with fire and thunder, but with quiet peace, and finding you already elsewhere in your mind. That moment passes unnoticed. But if instead the Spirit finds you awake, aware, attentive, the connection is instant. It needs no language. It needs no proof. It simply is. So how do you enter this present moment more intentionally? Begin with the breath. The breath is always now. It is your anchor. Each morning, before you do anything else, take 3 deep breaths. Not as a task, but as a return. With each inhale, say inwardly, I am here. With each exhale, say, I welcome you. This simple act is powerful. It slows the mind, centers the body, and signals that you are ready to receive. Then, look around you. Don't judge what you see. Observe it. Feel your feet on the floor. Hear the sounds near and far. Let everything be exactly as it is. This is your sacred ground. You don't need to change anything. You just need to show up. If thoughts of yesterday come, let them go. If worries about today rise, let them pass. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who sees them. And that observer, that still awareness, is the space where the Holy Spirit dwells. By choosing presence, you choose alignment. You choose partnership with the divine. And from that foundation, your entire day will unfold not from habit, but from guidance. Not from fear, but from peace. The present moment is the doorway. You must be there to open it. The Spirit is already at the threshold. Will you be home to welcome it in? Each morning, when you rise, you step into more than just a new day. You step into a sacred opportunity. Whether you realize it or not, your mind and heart are temples. Not in some poetic or metaphorical sense, but in a deeply real, deeply spiritual sense. The condition of that temple determines what enters it, and just like a physical temple, the inner space must be prepared, cleansed, and honored, especially if you desire to invite something holy into it. You cannot pour something pure into something polluted and expect it to remain untouched. You cannot bring peace into a mind that is raging with noise and think that peace will stay. If the Holy Spirit is to be invited into your day, it must find a space that is ready to receive it, and that readiness begins with inner cleansing. Consider the way a sacred space is treated. Before people enter, they remove their shoes, the floors are swept, the air purified, the lights dimmed. Every detail becomes a gesture of reverence. Nothing is rushed, nothing is careless, and yet, how many of us rush into our day carrying the mental dirt of yesterday? The anger, the fear, the comparisons, the self-judgment, the envy. We don't pause. we don't cleanse, and we wonder why we feel spiritually disconnected or emotionally scattered. When your mind is filled with unresolved thoughts, anxieties, and distractions, there is no stillness for the spirit to rest in. It's like trying to hear a whisper in a crowded marketplace. You may desire divine guidance, but there is no space for it to land. The noise is too loud, the surface too cluttered. Cleansing your inner temple is not about perfection. It is not about removing all emotions or denying your humanity. It is about honesty. It is about recognizing what you're carrying and asking yourself, does this need to come with me today? Is this thought serving me? Is this emotion helping me align with truth? Or is it something I'm clinging to out of habit, fear, or unconsciousness? Many of us wake up and carry yesterday's arguments into today's conversations. We carry last week's doubts into this morning's dreams. We carry guilt, shame, and regret like invisible weights. But what if the very act of releasing those burdens was the invitation the Holy Spirit was waiting for? What if the divine doesn't need you to be perfect, just willing to let go? The act of cleansing begins with awareness. The moment you become aware that your heart is heavy or your mind is clouded, you have a choice. You can keep carrying that weight or you can set it down. You can hold on to your anger or you can acknowledge it, feel it, and release it. You can drown in self-criticism or you can pause and choose compassion instead. That moment of choice is where the spiritual path begins each day. Cleansing is also about what you allow in. Just like you would not pour toxic water into a sacred bowl, be mindful of what you feed your spirit with in the morning. If your first action is to scroll through chaos, arguments, noise, or endless opinions, your inner temple becomes tainted before the day even begins. If your first words are ones of complaint or self-pity, the energy you set is one of contraction, not expansion. Instead, begin your day by feeding your inner space with what is pure: silence, prayer, gratitude, stillness. A simple sentence like "thank you for this breath" can wash away 1,000 anxious thoughts. A gentle smile to yourself in the mirror can soften the grip of judgment. These small acts are not small at all. They are rituals of cleansing, gestures of invitation. You don't need an elaborate ceremony. You need sincerity. The Holy Spirit is not impressed by show. It responds to the quiet heart, the honest soul, the one who says, "I don't know everything, but I'm willing to be guided." To cleanse is also to forgive, not just others, but yourself. Every grudge you carry takes up space in your temple. Every wound you reopen with your thoughts becomes a barrier. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is spiritual hygiene. It is how you wash the wounds so they can heal. It is how you sweep the floor so the sacred may enter. Ask yourself each morning, what can I release today? What is no longer mine to carry? The answers will come if you listen. Sometimes it is a thought, sometimes a memory, sometimes a belief that was never yours to begin with. When you release these things, you don't lose yourself. You find space for your true self to rise. And when that space is clear, when the temple is open and clean and calm, the Holy Spirit does not need to be summoned. It enters naturally, like a breeze through an open window, like light through a clear pane of glass. There is no resistance, only flow. So as you begin your day, remember, the Spirit you seek is already near, but it will not shout over your thoughts. It will not force itself into a crowded heart. It waits for your invitation, and that invitation begins with cleansing. Not with judgment, not with shame, but with love. Clear the space within, sweep the floors of your mind, let go of the noise, and in that quiet, sacred openness, the Holy Spirit will not just visit, you will feel it, dwelling with you. That is the power of a clean temple. That is the secret to beginning your day not just awake, but truly alive. There is a quiet power in the unseen, and in the spiritual life what you do not see often shapes what you feel most deeply. Before any visible transformation occurs, before peace settles in your spirit or clarity begins to guide your actions, there must be something even more subtle: intention. Intention is not noise, it is not performance, it is not even action. It is the silent posture of your heart that says, "I am open, I am willing, I invite." And in the realm of the sacred, this inner alignment is everything. Intention is not a formality, it is invocation. It is the way we call the Holy Spirit into our lives, not with force, but with truth. Many people wake up and ask for strength, for peace, for clarity. But there is a difference between asking out of habit and inviting with awareness. Intention is the bridge between routine and revelation. It transforms your actions from mechanical to meaningful. You can speak all the right words, recite all the right prayers, but if your heart is closed, if your mind is elsewhere, then the invitation is hollow. But even if you say nothing, yet your spirit is open and sincere, the Holy Spirit hears that call clearly. This is why intention must come before everything else in your day, before your phone, before your tasks, before your plans. When you rise in the morning and set the tone of your day, you are not just organizing time, you are setting spiritual alignment. Think of your intention as the direction you face. No matter how far you walk, if you're facing the wrong way, you'll never arrive. But if your heart is turned toward truth, even a small step carries great meaning. To invoke the Holy Spirit is not to beg, it is to invite, and true invitation cannot be rushed. You cannot demand presence from something that only enters freely. You must be still enough to notice when it arrives. You must be honest enough to want it there for the right reasons. The Holy Spirit does not respond to performance, it responds to alignment, and alignment begins with intention. Your intention does not need to be grand. You do not need to declare, "I will be holy today," or promise something you cannot sustain. Instead, let your intention be honest. Let it be something as simple as, "Today I want to walk with awareness. Today I want to listen more deeply. Today I want to trust what I cannot yet see." These small but sincere declarations are powerful. They turn your attention inward. They create the space where the divine can dwell. When you intend with sincerity, you are no longer living on autopilot. You are not reacting blindly to the world. You are responding from a deeper place. Your thoughts become more purposeful. Your emotions become more spacious. You begin to notice things you once overlooked. The soft guidance, the quiet knowing, the gentle nudges that come not from your own mind, but from something greater, something sacred. All of this begins when your intention becomes more than a thought. It becomes a vessel. There is a reason sacred traditions all emphasize the start of the day. Morning is not just a time, it is a threshold. How you step across it matters. Do you rush into the day with anxiety, or do you pause, breathe, and set your inner compass? When your first action is a conscious intention, you are sending out a signal, not just to yourself, but to the unseen forces that guide your path. You are saying, "I am not walking alone today." That acknowledgement alone begins to change everything. When your intention is clear, the way you speak changes. The way you listen shifts. You are no longer seeking to control every outcome. Instead, you begin to cooperate with the deeper current of your life. You realize that you are not the sole author of your day. You are in co-creation with Spirit. And in that space, effort becomes grace. Struggle turns into growth. Confusion becomes curiosity. You move not with strain, but with guidance. One of the most powerful things about intention is that it remains with you even when your circumstances shift. You may not control the events of your day. You may face difficulty, conflict, or chaos, but your intention anchors you. It reminds you who you are and why you started. If you began the day with the quiet invocation, "Let me be a vessel of peace," then even in the middle of stress, you remember to breathe. You remember to return to that intention. And the Spirit, which you invited in the stillness of morning, now stands beside you in the storm. This is the invisible strength of intention. It calls the sacred into the ordinary. It transforms your presence. It turns the smallest gestures into acts of alignment. A kind word, a patient silence, a deep breath instead of a reaction. These are not small things. They are the evidence that your intention is alive, that your invocation was heard. So when you wake tomorrow, do not rush into your day as though it is a burden to bear. See it as a sacred space waiting to be filled. Before you speak, pause. Before you act, breathe. And in that space, set your intention, not just in words, but in presence. Whisper inwardly, "Come, guide me." That is enough. For in that one act of conscious intention, you open a door far wider than you can see, and through it walks the peace, the clarity, and the strength you've been seeking all along. not from outside, but from within. Because you didn't just ask, you invited. And the Spirit always responds to a heart that truly means it. In a world obsessed with speed, movement, and noise, stillness is misunderstood. It is often seen as doing nothing, as wasting time. But in truth, stillness is one of the most powerful forces available to the human spirit. It is not the absence of activity, it is the presence of depth. And for those who seek to invite the Holy Spirit into their day, stillness is not optional, it is essential. It is the language the Spirit speaks. The Holy Spirit does not arrive like a thunderstorm crashing into your life. It does not shout above the chaos. It does not compete with your distractions. It does not demand your attention. Instead, it waits. It observes. It whispers. And to hear that whisper, you must become quiet enough within to recognize it. You must tune your inner frequency away from the noise of the world and into the sacred silence of the present moment. Stillness is not about sitting in silence for hours or becoming physically motionless. It is a quality of awareness. You can be still while walking, still while washing dishes, still while speaking, if your inner world is calm, clear, and grounded. Stillness means you are no longer pulled by thought after thought, emotion after emotion. You are resting at the center of your being. You are no longer a leaf blown by every wind, but a rooted tree grounded in presence. And in that groundedness, the Spirit comes near. It is in stillness that the divine becomes tangible. It is not when you're fighting to fix everything, proving yourself, or racing against time. It is in the sacred pause, in that space between breaths, where you feel the presence of something greater. You do not have to name it. You only have to notice that it was there all along, waiting for you to slow down enough to receive it. The reason many never feel the guidance of the Holy Spirit is not because it is not speaking, it is because they are too busy to hear. From the moment they wake, their minds are flooded with urgency, tasks, expectations, news, opinions, comparisons. There is no space left for the subtle. But the Spirit is subtle. It lives in quiet knowing, in intuitive nudges, in the feeling that something is right, even if it cannot be explained. When you cultivate stillness, you are not just calming yourself. You are attuning yourself. You are creating the condition necessary for divine communication. Think of a lake. When it is stormy and churning, it cannot reflect the sky. But when it is still, even the stars are visible on its surface. Your soul is the same. When stillness is present, wisdom reflects clearly. The greatest truths in life are not shouted, they are felt. They are realized, and realization comes when the mind is quiet enough to receive it. Stillness is also where healing begins, not through constant analysis, not through overthinking, but through gentle awareness. Pain that is observed in stillness softens. Wounds brought into stillness begin to breathe. The Holy Spirit does not always heal with fireworks and dramatic deliverance. It often heals like sunlight touching a frozen branch, slowly thawing the hardness, inviting life to return in its own time. To enter stillness, you do not need a mountaintop. You need intention. It could be 5 minutes in the morning before the house wakes up. It could be a moment of pause before you respond to someone. It could be a breath you take before walking into a meeting. These simple pauses create portals. They open a space between reaction and wisdom. They make room for the Spirit to step in. In stillness, you also begin to see clearly. Not just the world, but yourself. You begin to notice how much of your day is driven by habit, fear, ego. You begin to recognize the patterns that steal your peace. And when you see clearly, you are no longer blindly reacting. You become conscious. And consciousness is where the Spirit meets you. Not when you are pretending, not when you are lost in thought, but when you are real, present, and aware. Many people avoid stillness because it confronts them with themselves. In the quiet, their inner unrest becomes loud. Their unresolved emotions surface. But this is not something to fear. This is the doorway. When you allow yourself to be still, to truly meet yourself without distraction, you are inviting grace into your pain. You are allowing the Spirit to touch the places you've hidden or ignored. And in that sacred meeting, transformation begins. Stillness also teaches you patience. It reminds you that not everything must be solved right now. That clarity will come if you do not rush it. That presence is more powerful than pressure. And when you live from that still place, you move with more peace, speak with more wisdom, act with more compassion. You become a vessel, not of striving but of presence. So when you wish to invite the Holy Spirit into your day, begin not with noise but with stillness. Even if just for a moment, sit quietly and breathe. Not to escape the world but to return to yourself. Say nothing, ask for nothing, just be. Let your stillness be the invitation. In that space, something shifts. A soft awareness arises. You begin to feel the atmosphere of your own soul, and in that atmosphere, the Spirit arrives, not always with words, but always with presence. Stillness is not a luxury. It is not for monks or mystics alone. It is your birthright. It is your power. It is your meeting place with the divine, and it is always available, beneath the noise, beyond the chaos, within you. Choose it, return to it, let it become your daily sanctuary. For in stillness the Holy Spirit does not just visit, you begin to realize it was never gone. You had only to be quiet enough to feel it. In our search for spiritual connection, we often ask, seek, and strive. We want to feel the divine. We want signs, answers, clarity. But rarely do we stop to notice that the doorway we are trying to push open has already been unlocked, and the key that opens it is gratitude. Gratitude is not just a virtue. It is a sacred posture. It is not an emotional reaction to things going right. It is a way of seeing, a way of living. And when you wake up and begin your day with gratitude, you do more than create a positive mindset. You prepare the space where the Holy Spirit can enter. Gratitude changes the atmosphere of your inner world. It clears away the fog of complaints, the heaviness of comparison, the restlessness of wanting. When you are grateful, you are not in lack. You are not chasing. You are simply open, aware, and present to what is already here. And the Holy Spirit does not need noise or drama to arrive. It needs a receptive heart. A grateful heart, because a grateful heart is already aligned with truth. It already sees the miracle in the ordinary. Many people postpone gratitude. They wait for a breakthrough, a blessing, or a change in their situation before they allow thankfulness to rise. But spiritual life is not about waiting for reasons to be grateful. It is about seeing that life itself is the reason, that breath is enough, that presence is enough, that even in the midst of challenge, there is something sacred being offered. The moment you choose gratitude, something shifts. You stop measuring life by what you lack, and you begin to witness what you've been given. You stop resisting the moment, and instead you soften into it. In that softness, the Spirit can speak. Not because you earned it, but because you became available. You made room. Gratitude also transforms how you see others. It loosens the grip of judgment. It makes you more forgiving, more patient, more compassionate. When you begin to thank life for what it has taught you, even through pain, you stop seeing people as obstacles and start seeing them as mirrors. You begin to notice the grace in their presence, the lessons in their behavior. And that shift is not small, it is everything. Because the Holy Spirit does not only move through sacred texts and holy places, it moves through people, through interactions, through your own heart when it is open and thankful. Each morning you have a choice to enter the day with demands or with gratitude. Demands create pressure, gratitude creates peace. Demands say, life owes me. Gratitude says, everything is a gift. That shift in mindset is not just psychological, it is spiritual. It opens your awareness to the divine presence that is already around you and within you. Gratitude also grounds you. In a world that is constantly pulling your attention forward into fear or backward into regret, gratitude brings you into the present moment. It says, this moment is enough. This breath is enough. This opportunity to be alive, aware, and awake is enough. And in that enoughness, the ego softens, the striving slows, the noise fades, and the Spirit draws near. You don't need dramatic gestures to be grateful. You don't need everything to be perfect. You just need to notice. The warmth of sunlight on your skin, the sound of a loved one's voice, the stillness of the morning, the strength in your body, no matter how imperfect, the resilience in your spirit, no matter how weary. These things are not small, they are sacred. They are evidence that life is not withholding, it is offering. When you begin your day with gratitude, you begin from a place of abundance. And when you see life as abundant, you are no longer desperate for signs. You become the sign. You radiate peace. You speak with intention. You live as someone who knows that every breath is a blessing. That shift is what invites the Holy Spirit not just into your day, but into your very way of being. Gratitude also disarms fear. When you are thankful, you stop needing certainty. You no longer fear the unknown because you trust the unfolding. You begin to understand that even if the path is unclear, you are being held. That the hand of the divine is not always visible, but it is always present. And that awareness is not born from control, but from thankfulness. If you want to feel closer to the Holy Spirit, don't wait for a sign from the heavens. Start by saying thank you for what is already here. Speak gratitude out loud if you must. Whisper it if needed. Write it if it helps. Say thank you for what you understand and for what you don't. Thank you for the joy and for the lessons disguised as pain. Thank you for the closed doors and the courage to keep knocking. This kind of gratitude is not naive. It is powerful. It is the kind of gratitude that awakens your spirit, humbles your ego, and aligns you with truth. The spiritual path is not always clear. There will be days when doubt lingers, when silence feels heavy, when answers seem distant, but even in those moments, gratitude remains the doorway. You may not have clarity, but you can still have thankfulness. You may not have resolution, but you can still bow your head and say, thank you for this day. Thank you for another chance to grow. Thank you for another moment to remember who I am. And in that moment, you are not alone. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are in communion with something deeper, something eternal. You are no longer searching for the Holy Spirit outside of yourself. You are recognizing it within your own heart, revealed by gratitude. Because every time you say thank you, not just with your words, but with your awareness, you are stepping through the doorway. And on the other side is presence, peace, and the quiet, unmistakable nearness of the Spirit. To live with the Holy Spirit is not to withdraw from life, but to step into it more consciously. It is not about escaping the world, it is about engaging with it from a deeper place. When you invite the Holy Spirit into your day, you are not merely hoping for spiritual moments, you are choosing to live with awareness. Awareness is the practice of seeing what is often missed, of hearing what is often ignored, of feeling what is often numbed. It is a return to presence, and presence is where the Spirit lives. The Holy Spirit does not only arrive in moments of meditation or prayer, it does not restrict itself to sacred spaces. It flows through the ordinary, the mundane, the overlooked. But unless your awareness is sharp and steady, you will miss its subtle movements. You may walk through an entire day unaware that you are being guided, supported, or even warned. Living with the Holy Spirit means living in such a way that you are constantly attuned to that quiet guidance, not with fear or superstition, but with openness and still attention. When you become aware, you begin to notice the invisible threads that run through your life. A conversation that seems coincidental begins to feel purposeful. A delay or detour reveals hidden protection. An uncomfortable situation presents the exact lesson you need to grow. These are not accidents. They are the movements of spirit. But they only come into focus when you slow down enough to see. Awareness is what transforms a life of randomness into a life of meaning. It is easy to become numb to life. Habit numbs you, noise numbs you, stress numbs you, and when you are numb, you become blind to the sacred. You lose touch with the deeper rhythms of your soul. Living with the Holy Spirit means choosing to stay awake. It means moving through your day with an inner alertness, not the kind of alertness born from anxiety, but one born from reverence. Reverence for each moment, each interaction, each breath. With awareness, your actions change. You no longer react automatically, you begin to respond. You listen more closely to others, not just with your ears, but with your heart. You begin to notice when your words carry unnecessary weight, when your silence carries healing, when your presence alone is enough. The Holy Spirit often communicates through your conscience, through that inner pause that says, wait, breathe, choose better. But to hear it, you must be aware. Awareness also changes the way you see yourself. You begin to notice your own patterns, not with judgment, but with clarity. You see where you act from fear, where you seek approval, where you resist truth. And in seeing, you are empowered to shift. The Spirit will not override your free will, but it will offer you a higher perspective if you are willing to notice. And with that higher perspective comes a deeper peace. Not the peace of comfort, but the peace of alignment. To live with awareness is to recognize that everything matters, that no moment is wasted, that even your mistakes can be sacred when seen through the eyes of spirit. When you live in this way, the line between the spiritual and the ordinary dissolves. You begin to wash dishes with the same presence you bring to prayer. You begin to speak with the same mindfulness you once reserved for silence. Every act becomes an offering. Every moment becomes a meeting place. The Holy Spirit does not push or pressure. It invites. It whispers. It suggests a better way. But you must be present enough to sense the difference between your ego's urgency and the Spirit's gentle nudge. This is why awareness is a discipline. It is a constant returning to the now. To live with the Holy Spirit is not to escape the challenges of life, it is to face them with a new kind of sight. It is to ask, even in difficulty, what is this moment trying to teach me? That question alone is awareness in action. Living with awareness also cultivates humility. When you are aware, you realize how much you do not see, how often you assume, how quickly you judge. You begin to slow down, not because you are uncertain, but because you have learned to respect the hidden depths of every person, every moment. The Spirit often moves through what is quiet, subtle, even misunderstood. If you rush, you will miss it. If you pause, you might catch a glimpse of something eternal in something very ordinary. This way of living becomes a practice. Not a perfect one, but a faithful one. Some days your awareness will be sharp and clear. Other days you will forget, fall, or go numb. That is not failure. That is part of the path. The key is to return. Return to now. Return to breath. Return to presence. The Holy Spirit is not distant. It is near, always waiting for your return. And your return does not require effort, just attention. When you live with awareness, you carry a kind of stillness within you that cannot be shaken by circumstance. You move with integrity. You speak with intention, and you listen for the deeper message in all things. This is not about being perfect. It is about being present. And in that presence, the Holy Spirit becomes not just a visitor in your day, but your constant companion. So walk slowly, breathe deeply, pay attention. Do not look for grand signs, look for subtle confirmations. The look in a stranger's eye, the feeling of peace after a hard choice, the inner yes when you take the right step. These are the ways the Spirit speaks to those who are awake. Living with the Holy Spirit is not a mystery. It is a choice to be here, a choice to listen, a choice to see. And when you choose awareness, you choose communion, you choose alignment, you choose to live not just from your mind, but from your spirit. And that truly is the most sacred way to live. Every day you wake up, you make a choice, even if it is unconscious. You choose what you will focus on, what energy you will carry, and how you will show up to the world. Behind every word, every action, and every thought is an intention, whether clear or clouded. And in the spiritual life, intention is everything. It is the silent force behind transformation. It is not how loud your prayer is, how long your meditation lasts, or how many rituals you perform. What matters most is your intention, because your intention is your invitation to the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit does not respond to performance. It does not need theatrics, emotional displays, or flawless behavior. It responds to sincerity, to openness, to the quiet, honest turning of your heart. If you start your day with the simple, clear intention to walk with the Holy Spirit, to live with awareness, to act with compassion, to stay present through every moment, you have already created a space where the Spirit is welcome. It is a misconception to think that spiritual power is reserved for the perfect, the disciplined, the enlightened. In truth, spiritual power flows wherever there is a willing heart. Your intention, no matter how fragile or imperfect, is a flame. It does not need to be large, it only needs to be true. When you say, "Today I want to live connected to something deeper," you are creating alignment. You are adjusting the frequency of your inner life to receive divine presence. What you intend, you begin to shape. You may not see instant results, but the energy of intention begins to move through your choices, your habits, your mindset, and as it does, your awareness grows. You begin to notice what pulls you away from your intention and what brings you closer. This is how real transformation begins, not by force, but by alignment. Intention does not guarantee perfection. You will still get distracted, you will still feel triggered, impatient, or uncentered. But when your intention is strong, you keep returning. You return to your breath, you return to stillness, you return to compassion, you return to truth. And that returning is not failure, it is practice, it is devotion, it is what keeps your spiritual life alive. Each morning you are given a blank canvas. The world will try to paint on it for you: fear, urgency, comparison, noise. But with intention you choose your own strokes. You say, today I choose peace. Today I choose patience. Today I choose presence. And even when the chaos comes, your intention acts like a compass. It guides you back when you begin to drift. The Holy Spirit is not looking for people who never fall. It's looking for those who keep rising with purpose. Intention is what keeps you rising. It gives your life direction. It allows even your smallest actions to carry depth. Drinking a cup of tea can become sacred when done with presence. Holding space for someone else becomes powerful when done with the intention to truly see them. Nothing is wasted when you live with intention, because everything becomes part of your spiritual walk. When you invite the Holy Spirit into your day with clear intention, you are telling life, I am available. Available to learn. Available to grow. Available to be corrected, available to be used in ways you may not yet understand. This availability is not passive, it is conscious surrender. You are not giving up responsibility, you are saying, guide me, shape me, speak through me. This way of living does not mean you will have no plans or ambitions. It means your plans are now rooted in something deeper than ego. Your ambitions are no longer just about success, they are about service. You begin to ask not only, what do I want to do today, but also, who do I want to be? And who you want to be shapes how you move, how you speak, how you respond. If you feel disconnected from the Spirit, ask yourself, what have I been intending? Have I been rushing through life with no clear purpose, reacting to circumstances, driven by habit? Or have I been waking up with a moment of pause, a whisper of willingness, a choice to walk with awareness? The difference is subtle, but it is everything. One path leads to noise, the other leads to presence. Your intention is also your protection. When you intend to live with spirit, you become less vulnerable to the chaos of the world, not because life becomes easy, but because you are rooted. When your intention is clear, the distractions of the world lose some of their power. You no longer chase approval or fear rejection in the same way. You are not trying to be everything to everyone. You are trying to be aligned with the divine, and that clarity brings freedom. Even when your life is full, family, work, obligations, your intention becomes your sacred thread. It weaves through everything. It transforms even the most ordinary routine into a spiritual practice. Your intention is the reason behind your movement, and when your reason is love, truth, and presence, the Spirit cannot help but be near. So before your feet touch the ground in the morning, pause, take one breath, place your hand on your heart, and in your own words speak your intention. Today, I choose to walk with awareness. I choose to live from love. I invite the Holy Spirit into everything I do. Say it softly, say it sincerely. That one choice, made daily, is what shapes your path. You do not need to wait until everything is perfect. You do not need to have all the answers. Begin where you are. Begin with your heart. Let your intention become your invitation, and in that quiet, sacred invitation, the Holy Spirit will meet you. Not just in moments of silence, but in the midst of your living. You are not meant to stumble through your day, disconnected, chasing meaning in noise and speed. You are meant to walk with clarity, with presence, with power not your own, but gifted to you every morning. The door is already open, but the question remains. Will you invite the Holy Spirit in, or leave the guest waiting?